What's going on, everybody? I hope that you are all ready to do a new currently reading. So, this is another summer one. I did a summer one, I think, last year. So, that's pretty cool that we're back to we've done a whole rotation and we're back to another summer currently reading video. And like I got a bunch of stuff that I really want to talk about, and most of these I think just came out pretty recently. So it's going to be pretty interesting to get through these volumes and to say more or less how I feel about each one. And with the currently reading videos, I try to like give you a bunch of the story and talk about what's going on. And for the most part, I usually read like halfway through these when I talk about them. Sometimes like if I get super interested in the volume, I'll read the whole thing. For the most part, this time around I had a lot of restraint, and I think there's only one that I finished. Or no, actually I haven't finished any of them. So yeah, I'm actually in the middle of all of these for a change. So I'm usually in the middle of like so many damn volumes of manga. I have like 20 something volumes of manga that I have open right now because I'm trying to like read a whole lot of stuff to constantly be able to, keep what is essentially a manga channel alive. And we're going to jump right into this. I don't want to waste too much time. So this is my summer 2023 currently reading, and let's get through this. These are 5 volumes of manga that I am currently in the middle of. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know your thoughts, and let's jump right into it. So I want to know what you are currently reading as you watch this video. I want to know what manga you're in the middle of. If you are reading a manga, or if you're just reading a regular book, I'd like to know what book you are reading. I haven't read a book in a while, which is kind of a shame, because I usually read a lot, and I haven't been reading that much lately. And first up, we have Boys Abyss by Ryo Mine Nami. This is absolutely gorgeously drawn. The artwork right here, like this, well, I want to say it's like watercolors, and you can see like, you can see that fish right there that I can't think of the name of right now. I think it's like a koi fish. You can see that like it's like a part of her hair, and it just absolutely looks gorgeous. The attention to detail, like her dress is like sequins, and you can kind of see, it's kind of hard to see it with my lighting, but you can kind of see like if you pick up the volume or if you go online or whatever and you look at this cover, you can kind of see like the sequins in what she's wearing, and there's a lot of detail like on just this cover. And for me, like I feel like it kind of evokes a sort of melancholy, and there's even like some red going on here, which I think represents the kind of fire that she brings into this dude's life. And it's not like a good fire. It's definitely not a good fire. It's like a I'm gonna destroy everything you love and care about kind of a fire. I actually really loved what I've read so far. I'm like halfway through it. The way I do these currently reading videos is like I'll usually read like halfway through a volume of manga, and then I will part it right there and then go, okay, try to keep a mental image of what I read so that when I do these videos, I can go back and say, yeah, this happened and that happened, but without giving away too much, without going too crazy with spoilers and, talking too much about the characters and whatnot. I like to do like a surface level kind of explanation, but these are a little bit more in depth than, if it were like a haul video where like I try to like get through everything as quickly as possible so that I'm not dragging it out too much, because I have to get through a lot of volumes of manga, and yeah, those videos are really difficult for me because I'm a kind of a person that like I never shut up when it comes to manga. And pretty much like this girl right here ends up in like this really small town, like a Bruce Springsteen song or like a John Mellencamp song, and she ends up in this small town, and there's this dude there who is essentially going to stay in that small town for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, his friends and everyone around him is trying to get the hell out of the small town. Like he wants to essentially stay there because he's got to take care of his family, and his brother is a NEET or a hikikomori, like he just does not leave his room ever. And he meets this girl in a really strange circumstance, and she wants him to join her in a sort of let's unalive ourselves kind of a pact. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. Things happen that I did not expect to happen, and it got pretty adult pretty quick. I'll say that much. It got pretty adult pretty goddamn quick. But I like the characters in this. Like I don't feel like I've been introduced yet to a single character that feels flat. They all feel like solid living beings, and they have their own sorts of quirks, and there's little things that, you know, come off like there's definitely something wrong with each person. And she was an idol at one point in her life, and that's over, and she's like living this bizarre life with this dude. And yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to start spoiling it, but yeah, if you like, I guess I want to say, kind of melancholic stories with just great art. Yeah, I'll show you this because this isn't that bad. But the artwork is really well done. I love the shading. I love the imagery in this. Like, the imagery is so nice, dude. Like, this panel right here really reminds me of Black Lagoon when Rock and Revy share a cigarette. But there's so many panels like this, like where the artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. Like, there's so much beautiful art in this manga, and that was like the highlight for me. And I'm only halfway through it, but I can't wait to finish it. And there's this character in there that really reminded me of this girl that I went to high school with. Like, she's so eccentric, and she reminded me so much of that girl. And I feel like a good story can definitely bring about a sort of feeling of nostalgia for the past and make you think of things that you went through when you were in high school. I don't know if you're watching this and you are currently in high school or not, but I was in high school like more than 10 years ago. More than like 15 years ago, actually, because I'm old. But yeah, this story definitely has like so much within it, and I'm not even finished with it, so we'll see how I feel about it by the end of it. But as of right now, yeah, I'm like really loving Boys Abyss, and if you check it out because of this, I'd love to know your thoughts. Avant-garde Yumeko by one of my favorite mangaka ever. This is Shuzo Oshimi. Let's get down to brass tacks. Avant-garde Yumeko is about a girl that likes to draw peen. Like, she can't get enough of that dang old squash. She's got to see it at all times, at every moment of every moment of every waking day. She's got to see the peen. I'm not even kidding either. That's the sad thing, dude. Is I'm not even kidding. Like, this girl is genuinely obsessed with the peen, and I'm sorry if that's like getting on your nerves, my saying that like every 2 seconds, but it's legit, this whole thing, and I'm like halfway through it. Dude, I mean, it's because of the fact that it is, because of the fact that it is Shuzo Oshimi. Like, if it were someone else, I would be like, what the hell? But it is Shuzo Oshimi, so I'm still kind of like, Jesus Christ. But it's like you kind of come to expect just the most bizarre, weird sort of stuff from this creator. This is like the manga version of Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. This dude just has such a bizarre style, bizarre sense of creation. His characters are all so just insane, and even the ones that are essentially like normal people get pulled into the vortex of these characters that are just raging psychopaths. And in this case, our raging psychopath in this story is Yumeko, who wants to draw penises, and she gets this dude involved in this art class. Like, well, the dude's in the art class, and she joins the art class, and she wants to draw him naked, and essentially like forces him to get naked for her so she can draw him naked. And she wants to essentially draw him naked like every single day, and it just devolves into just this weird thing with this girl who reminds me, like, I've mentioned this before. Every time I've mentioned this story, I mentioned Superbad, but there's like this opening scene in Superbad with Jonah Hill where he is like talking about, and he was, I think, like a freshman or whatever, that like he would just draw penises all day for whatever reason. I don't know if this came out before that though, because that came out in like 2008 or 2009, somewhere around there. There really isn't a lot of in-depth, psychology for me to get into with this. I mean, you could probably, I'm sure, if you wanted to look deep enough, you could probably find, something psychological within this girl, something Freudian, if you really wanted to, but I'm just not super into digging that deep with this. I just feel like it's just taking a curiosity of the human body and exploiting at times like 1,000, because I don't think anybody's actually this obsessed with another person's anatomy, unless somebody really is out there, that obsessed with another person's anatomy, like where they got to see it, they got to see what it looks like. to the point where like you got to draw at every waking moment of every second, like every waking second of every day, where like she's even dreaming about penises and whatnot. It's just so random, dude. But it's like because of the fact that it is Shuzo Oshimi, and I know that this dude just does these awkward sorts of stories, and he likes to delve into things that other people probably will never touch upon. Like, I mean, I feel like I just pretty much gave you the whole synopsis of this. Like, there's no deeper grab. I don't think. If there is, please let me know in the comments. Like, if you know that there is like some deeper, meaning behind it, I'd love to know your thoughts. But to me, like, that's basically like the whole story. And I'm only halfway through it, but yeah, I don't see it getting much deeper than that. So, yeah, check it out or don't check it out. This is Avant-Garde Yumeko by Shuzo Oshimi. Apparently, disillusioned adventurers will save the world. I had to look at the title because it's so long. This is originally a light novel, and it kind of reminds me of Combatants Will Be Dispatched. And while I was reading this, I was thinking about that, and I also kind of was thinking of like Konosuba, because I'm pretty sure I think those two were created by the same person. Konosuba and Combatants Will Be Dispatched, I think were light novels that were written by the same creator. I am not 100% on that, so please do not hold me to that. But there are similarities to that, with our lead characters here in this story essentially being people who failed in other parties, and this is like a magical story, like a fantasy type of deal. There is no isekai. These all are people that exist within this world, and yeah, it's a fantasy world. And they were all a part of different groups, raiding groups, whatever, parties, and each of them had a bad luck. Had something, kind of suffered some sort of bad luck within their individual parties, and because of the fact that those things didn't work out with those parties, they ended up alone, and all four of them end up in a bar, and they all just like get a tavern or whatever, and they all just get hammered together, and they're like, we're never gonna, adventure with anybody else ever again. And it was kind of funny. Like, I'm halfway through it right now. I'm actually maybe a little bit more than halfway through it. I was almost gonna finish it, but I decided to just pause it. I like the idea of this. I really do like the idea of this, but I feel like the execution here is lacking. Like, I already ordered volume 2, so I'm definitely gonna keep reading it, but I feel like the execution is lacking. Like, I just didn't think it was that strong, and it could get better, as it goes. And like I said, I already pre-ordered volume 2, so whenever volume 2 gets out, I will get my hands on it. And yeah, I mean, each of the characters has a thing that, at least makes them stand out. They are their individual people. They are individual people. They have their own, traits and mannerisms and whatnot. And that's what I kind of like about this, that they are, for the most part, their own people. It's like some stories where like everybody just kind of blends into like this one, organism, and they all will essentially fall in love with this one character or treat this one character as their leader. But in this, what I do like is that none of these characters like trust each other whatsoever. Even though they do come to form a party, they do not trust each other because of what happened to them in their other parties, where one of them was betrayed and essentially left for dead. One of them was accused of a crime that he did not commit. I'm not going to say what that crime is. Another one found out that somebody in his party was stealing money, and instead of, kicking out the person that was stealing money, he's the one that ends up getting kicked out of the party, and then his girlfriend also breaks up with him. And then another one, her boyfriend, her fiance, leaves her for another woman. So, like, there's a bunch of different little things that, happen to these characters, and they're all basically broke. They're all living on their last dime when they come together, and they come together super reluctantly, and they don't even come together until almost near the end of the volume. And I know that's kind of like a little bit of a spoiler, but I feel like you already know they're going to come together. They're all on the cover together. But it's like what brings it all together, and like seeing these events unfold, and how everything ends up happening, that's where all the detail really is, And that's the stuff that you want to see, is how they end up coming together. And I don't know anything beyond, them coming together. I don't know what kind of, hardships they're going to face as a group, going forward, because I've only read, almost halfway through this volume. But I'm definitely going to read volume 2 because I want to see where it's going to go. I want to see, if it's going to get funnier, what kind of hardships they're going to face. And it is adult. It's got the sticker slapped up there. There's only so far one scene of nudity, and I think it was like a single breast or something. It wasn't even both of them. Yeah, I think it was like a single breast or something, and that was like the only instance of like any nudity whatsoever in this. For the most part, it's not super adult. I don't remember there being a ton of cursing. I don't think there is like a ton of cursing. I mean, there might be, the occasional like boob slip or something, and that's why it has that rating. But I don't know because I haven't read the whole thing yet. So for all I know, in like the last like 10 pages or something, there'll be like some sort of like orgy or something, But I do want to see where this is going to go because of the fact that it reminds me of like Combatants Will Be Dispatched and like Konosuba. And that's the reason that I picked it up, because I love the title, even though it's like, a light novel title, because it is based on a light novel. Apparently disillusioned adventurers will save the world. The ultimate party is born, in like small letters down there. I'm going to talk about this again in my haul video whenever that drops, probably in July. So when that drops, I'll mention this again, and by then I'll probably have finished the volume. So by then I'll say, how I ultimately felt about it. But right now, I do want to see where it's going to go. I am interested in it because I like fantasy stories, and I like, underdog stories, and like stories of characters that have to come together and put their differences aside and work together. And this is one of those stories. So yeah, I hope that you will check this out, or if you have checked it out, I'd love to know your thoughts. We've got Heavenly Delusion by Masakazu Ishiguro. I'm in the middle of this as well. Obviously, I'm in the middle of all of these, but this one is solid. I think this definitely blew away my expectations. I was almost not going to pick this up. I saw that this had an anime, and I just wasn't super, intrigued by it. It kind of reminded me of like, God, what's that one with those kids in that school? Promised Neverland. That's what it was. It reminded me of Promised Neverland. And I was like, no, you know what? I don't really want to check something out that reminds me too much of something that already exists, and that had a full run, and the whole box set is actually coming out for Promised Neverland, and I'm actually going to pick up that box set, and I'll do an unboxing of that box set. I think it comes out in like either October or November of this year, so when that drops, I'll be picking that up and checking it out. But I got the first 2 volumes of this initially, and I ended up picking up the rest of the available volumes after, reading like halfway through this first one, because it ended up subverting my expectations and ended up being a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And there's an anime out right now, and I think the first season of the anime is complete. I'm not sure. I haven't watched it at all because I don't want to check it out at all until I've read a nice chunk of this story, so that I'm not, jumping around between the two too much. I like to kind of stick to one thing, and then once I finish that, then I'll go and, consume the other medium. Like I read all of Demon Slayer. Like I recently just finished reading all of the Demon Slayer manga. So now I'm going back and watching the anime. I'm in the middle of season 2 right now. And yeah, that was a really good story. I might eventually pick up that box set, even though I've already, read that whole series. I read it online. But Heavenly Delusion, I don't know how to talk about this without, getting into spoiler territory. So this is pretty much going to be like, not like super heavy duty spoilers, but inevitably there will be spoilers for Heavenly Delusion. The story is solid. I still want to like go too heavy into spoilers, but these people right here are essentially outside of this facility, and then there's these other characters that exist within the facility, and those that exist within the facility live in a sort of like, I guess, false sort of sense of security where they feel like they're protected because they are in there, and then these people are outside of it, and they have to contend every day with these bizarre creatures that exist in the world. And I think the world kind of explains, why those beings exist and how the world got to the point that it did, or maybe it didn't do it too much. That was more just absorbed with the dichotomy, of this inside world and then, the reality of the outside world, and how this is something that essentially like even exists right now. This isn't just like some dystopian thing. You go to some other part of the world and there's people that live, in rubble, and that live in just these miserable conditions. And for them, that is a real life, everyday sort of thing. Only there aren't, flying monsters with like two heads or whatever. It's a sad reality, for people in different parts of the world where they have to contend with just miserable situations, and you don't know if you're going to live to see tomorrow or not. And, while that is a reality for some people, and it's a tragic one, the reality of the story is, that these people live in this sort of sphere type of thing, and this I guess walled off bubble, whereas there's people outside of it that learn how to survive outside, that have survived for a while, outside. And there's this event, I think it was 30 or something years ago in this universe that it took place, and these two right here are basically kids, so they grew up in this world that exists now, and they had no knowledge of the world before this. And it's a cool thing to see, adaptability, where like this is all you've ever known, so of course you're used to it. You've never known anything else. You can survive because of the conditions in which you grew up, and if you hadn't grown up in those conditions, there's a chance that you would not survive maybe a day in this sort of, brutal world. Though this is a little more comedic than it is brutal. Like, this isn't The Road. This isn't Cormac McCarthy's The Road. It's not that brutal, but it is a good story, and I like the artwork, and it's more comical than anything, though there are moments that are a little bit more gruesome, like a little bit more gruesome, though those are a little bit more far between. There is some nudity, but it's not like super duper gratuitous, and these are pretty down to earth characters, which I really like. Nothing seems too fantastical, even though the setting is this dystopian sort of landscape, this futuristic dystopian kind of landscape. The characters are all super grounded. They all seem really chill, like really. They're all like really interesting characters, and yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen next. I obviously picked up, the rest of the available volumes. I think it's like 5 total as of the making of this video, 5 total available volumes, and I've ordered all of them that I don't already have. I think I have volumes 1 through 2 right now, and then yeah, I'll have 3 through 5 soon. So yeah, this is definitely worth checking out. So yeah, this is Heavenly Delusion. I wanted to close out on Tatsuki Fujimoto because I love this psychopath. This dude is one of my favorite creators ever, whether it's mangaka, whether it's being like a mangaka or just a writer or just, any medium of storytelling. I love anything and everything that Tatsuki Fujimoto does. And I mentioned this in my last currently reading video. I think I mentioned the Tatsuki Fujimoto collection, which was 17 through 21, and I thought it'd be cool to do his work again in my new currently reading video. And this is now 22 through 26, and I am, as with the other ones, halfway through this one, and I'm on the 3rd story in this collection. This one has 5 stories. I think the last one had 4. I really liked the last one a lot, and one of my favorite stories in the last one was this one with this dude. It reminded me of like Kaguya-sama Love is War, and this dude's trying to confess to this girl, and the whole time like there's like an alien invasion, I think, in the middle of him confessing to her, and he's getting mugged in the middle of him confessing to her, and each thing that happens he's like, this can wait. And this brings about a little bit more of, Tatsuki Fujimoto's signature just weird style. One of the stories in this is about a mermaid, and I can't remember the name of it, but this kid falls in love with like a mermaid, and for the most part, the whole time I kept expecting it to go wrong, to just go horribly wrong, and it definitely surprised me with the turn that story took. And there's another story from the 2 of the 5 that I read. There's another story about this guy that turns into a girl, and that one was fun. It was cute, and the whole syndrome is so random, where it's like this syndrome where like you can just spontaneously, you know, like turn into a girl. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's no cure. You're just a girl now. Tatsuki Fujimoto's style is definitely, you can see the evolution, you know, from the stuff that he was doing when he was 17, you know, through when he was 21 to 22. And I'm in the middle of it. Like I said, I got 3 more to go, so it's gonna get to 26, which is about the age he was, I think, when he started writing, or when he wrote Fire Punch. I think he was 26 when he wrote Fire Punch. But you can definitely see, you know, the evolution to where he is mentally or spiritually or whatever, you know, that he was able to commit to something like Fire Punch because of the fact that he's able to, like, you know, put together these cohesive stories, even from a really young age, you know, to put together these stories and to, you know, have the punchline, to have where he wants to get within that story. And he's been able to do that his whole life from the looks of it. I applaud the living hell out of it. This dude, to me, is one of the most prolific living writers out, whether it's any medium, whatever, writing, mangaka, you know, like I said, you know, whatever. This dude is one of the most prolific creators that I have consumed work by, and I love what he does. And these 2 stories that I've read, I think, are enough for me to be able to just give boundless praise, especially the one about the mermaid, because that one definitely did not go the Tatsuki Fujimoto route that I was expecting, you know, because when you read his work and when you've read enough of his work, you kind of expect his stories to go a certain way, even though I'm not saying they're formulaic, because this dude will throw a wrench in there somehow just to not have, you know, be like, yep, I knew that was coming. You know, he'll throw some kind of wrench in there to make it just throw you off. And that's the beauty, I think, of this sort of storyteller. And, you know, storytellers that know, you know, like, people are going to expect this to happen, but no, I'm going to subvert your expectations, and now this is going to happen instead. And I really like that he can do that, and he's still doing that. He's doing it now with Chainsaw Man. With his second run of Chainsaw Man, he's still doing that now. And then Goodbye Eri is coming out, I think, in the next month or 2. Goodbye Eri should be out physically, and once that is out, I will be adding that to my collection. And with that, I will have all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's currently available works until volume 12, I think. Yeah, until volume 12 of Chainsaw Man drops. I will always highly, at any point in time, recommend you to check out anything by Tatsuki Fujimoto, whether it's like Look Back, or Goodbye Eri, or Chainsaw Man, or Fire Punch. Like, I understand that there's people that, like, don't want to read something, or don't want to check something out because it's super hyped up. Check out, like, Fire Punch. Fire Punch is really good. It ran for 8 volumes. That's complete right there. 8 volumes, it's over. That is one of the most insane things I've ever read in my life, and I'm gonna eventually read it again. I did a video about it. I think I did 2 videos about it a couple of years ago, I think, at this point. And yeah, I do want to go back through and read it again at some point. I don't know when, because I got so much stuff to read for this channel, dude. I'm in the middle of so much stuff for this channel, so, like, I don't know when, but maybe one day, yeah, like, I'll get back through it. And I'm here for all of these creators. Like, I don't make these videos to trash talk anybody. I always try to, like, you know, I always take time out of my day to sit here and read as much stuff as I can so that I can create content for this channel. And because I just enjoy reading these stories. I love reading manga. I love reading things that I've never read. I love it when people recommend me things. And I did a video about something that somebody recommended me pretty recently, which was called Soloist in a Cage. That was a recommendation from one of my viewers, and I did a video about it because I really loved that first volume of Soloist in a Cage. And yeah, I mean, like, these are all things that, like, I spend my money on, you know. Like, I go out there, I check these out, I read them, and if I don't like something, you know, I give it away. I give it to one of my friends. And for the most part, I do take time out of my day to try to check everything out. And, you know, not everything is going to click, not everything is going to be a winner, but I do give it my all, and I give an honest opinion about the things that I check out. And I gave, you know, pretty much my honest opinion on all of these, and I did enjoy all of these, and that's not always the case. You know, whenever I do these currently reading videos, I don't always enjoy everything that I talk about. Oshinoko, I didn't like at first, but then I ended up really liking the second half of it, and it got a lot better. And I kind of like that that's turning into, like, a really dark sort of story, which I did not expect to happen. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend any one of these. You know, I would recommend Currently Disillusioned. Apparently Disillusioned Adventurers Will Save the World. Avant-Garde Yumeko, I might not recommend as much unless you just like weird I guess avant-garde sort of storytelling. Or if you're a fan of like Naked Lunch by I don't know if did David Lynch direct? No, Cronenberg I think directed the Naked Lunch film, and the book was written by William S. Burroughs. Boys Abyss, which kind of reminds me a little bit of Paranoia Agent. I don't know why, but it kind of does. 22 through 26 by one of my beloved creators, Datsuki Fujimoto. I love that dude. And then we got Heavenly Delusion, which I think for me was the biggest surprise because I wasn't sure how I felt about this and ended up really liking it quite a bit. And I can't wait to continue it because I want to see what happens next. I want to see these two kick ass. I want to see these two kicking some ass as it gets along. Again, I want to know what you are reading. Please tell me. I am starved for attention. I need constant streams of attention. Just kidding. But please, seriously, I would love to know what you're reading. I'd love to know what you plan to read. What are you looking forward to? Are there any pre-orders that you are looking forward to? Or like, I know that Viz just acquired a bunch of new licenses or whatever, and are about to like drop a whole bunch of stuff, physically. There's one that I don't remember the name of, but I'm going to put it right there. I read the first volume of it, and in the first chapter of it, which is like 50 pages, I think, or something, that I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. And as long as more manga keeps coming out, I'll keep doing more videos and seeing, where this channel will go and how long I can carry this on. So that's all I got. I just want to say really quickly, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You could have been doing anything else with your like 30 minutes or however long this video is going to be, but you spent that time with me, and that means a lot to me. That really does. It means a lot to me that you could have been doing anything else with your day, and instead you took some time to hang out with me and listen to me ramble about some stuff that I read pretty recently. So that does mean a lot. And whatever you got going on for the rest of your day, I hope that you are in good health, and I hope that everyone that you love is doing well.
By the hands of God, I stand as a wrench between your wheeling cog. Fastening my belt, bracing myself to withstand against all odds. Himself shadow runners, battle ready, murder dogs. Rip the skin off your horses, triumph to smash the sorceress. Lethal forces, the failure of your ambitions is more painful than divorces. Smash your dome piece on the doorway, when the door hits, that's it. Call it quits, zipped up in plastic, cremated, melted like elastic. Dreams don't mean shit, in this life they don't exist. Nightmares.
We've got Heavenly Delusion by Masakazu. We've got Heavenly Delusion by Masakazu Ishiguro.